likely a little nervous as well.
Yeah, as far as we know, I think the officers have been out there for about an hour. I think it was like perhaps an hour ago that we got the initial report of officers responding to the report of an active shooter out there. Yeah. Again, no active shooter has been found. Might have been a false report, might have been a hoax of some sort, but nobody's been hurt, and no actual gunfire has been heard. Nobody's been taken into custody that we know of.
Yeah, and we're hearing that there was no mass sort of evacuation instituted. So we're not seeing like all the students coming out. Obviously some have. So we're hearing that a lot of students are still inside, remaining in the classrooms, I think, as they try to secure and confirm the situation here.
Which is not the easiest thing to do. And we saw earlier the video that was taken by one of the students in one of the classes as officers made their way into that classroom, asking all the students to lift their hands in the air.
Yeah, and then we saw other video, about half a dozen officers trotting onto the campus. They had their firearms, their long arms, at the ready. So these are certainly all scenes that are upsetting to parents and students alike.
Especially since security appears to be the #1 issue for parents in the Houston area when we asked them to take part in our survey. And we do have a parent on the phone right now, Alicia Lara. Alicia, can you hear us?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Miss Laura, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, can you tell us, are you at the high school? Where are you, and have you had a chance to talk to your child?
I'm here at the high school on Oxford, and I am here in the crowd. There's a bunch of parents here. We're all worried, we're all concerned. Officers are telling us that they have the situation under control. Thank God, I did get to text my daughter. She texted me back. She said that they are hiding behind the teacher's desk. SWAT did go into her classroom. There's a lot of parents here that are scared. We want to get our children. We want to get them out. But as of right now, it's no avail. We're just waiting to hear word from the rest of the officers to give us more instructions. As of right now, all we hear is that there's 9 to 10, and that's all they tell us. They don't tell us if it's casualties, if it's injuries or what, but they just keep saying 9 and 10. That's all the information that they're giving us. So, parents here are on high alert. They're crying. Some are praying. Some of them are in communication with their children as well. But as of right now, we're just here. We're waiting. We're waiting to find out what's going on.
Well, we've been told by law enforcement that there are no reports of any injuries.
Thank you, Jesus. Okay.
When is the last time you spoke with your daughter, is it?
Yes, my daughter. She's a senior here in high school. The last time I spoke to her was about 10 minutes ago. She hasn't texted me back. I don't know if they're not allowing them to communicate or what, but I'm here. They're telling us now that we have to go to 15th Street by a church. That's where they're going to let all the students out. So I'm going to run to my car, and I'm going to head to 15th right now to see if I can pick up my daughter.
Yes, but the good news is there's no reports of any injuries right now, Alicia, so that's great news, and spread that news to all the other parents out there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, all the best in getting your daughter.
Wow, and you can hear the emotion in that mother's voice.
And you can't blame her.
Completely understandable. It's just a terrifying thought that your child is hiding behind the teacher's desk.
Yeah, well, not every parent that's going to go up to pick up their child is going to be following Twitter like we are and reading the tweets that are coming from the various law enforcement agencies that are out there right now.
It was interesting. She said she just heard 9 and 10, but she doesn't know 9 and 10 of what that is in reference to. So hopefully we can learn a little bit more about what that might be in reference to. But you are looking at 2 live cameras of the scene at Heights High School, where there have been unconfirmed reports of an active shooter earlier today. A tremendous law enforcement response, Air 11 to the right, a ground camera to the left there. We just heard from a parent who has been able to communicate with her daughter, a senior on campus there. Alicia Lara telling us that her daughter texted back to her that she's okay, but she is hiding. She's hiding behind her teacher's desk now, presumably along with the other students in that classroom.
Yeah, and here's a map in case you need to go pick up your child. You've been told to go to 306 East 15th there, not far from Heights High School. Of course, the difficulty is that many of the streets are blocked off right now. But if you have a child that goes to Heights High School, you're being urged to go to East 15th at Arlington. So that's 306 East 15th. You take another live look from Air 11. It is a massive school, actually.
We are waiting for a statement from Houston Police Chief Troy Finner. We anticipate hearing from him in a little bit. There have also been tweets and communications from school board members as well. And yeah, the most important element to this is that there is no one has been hurt. We have not heard any reports of shots fired. So you're also looking now to your left at our ground camera as police officers are addressing parents, perhaps giving them directions to that staging area, 306 East 15th Street. I believe that may be the Lutheran church there. And everyone working their phones, no doubt trying to communicate with their children as well. And our Anieli Ruiz, you can see her walking towards the camera. She's been gathering some information. I don't know if she can hear us. Anieli, you all right? Yeah, tell us what you got.
Yes, Sherman, I can actually hear you. It's a little bit confusing for a lot of parents. You know, they're getting information from their kids saying that there might have been a shooting. Obviously, they're here scared, looking for any kind of details. But again, the officers here reassuring us that there's no injuries here. We want to obviously make that very clear. There are no injuries here reported, and parents can pick up their kids at a church that's not far from here, just a few blocks. But again, a lot of just miscommunication, parents trying to just figure out what exactly is going on because they're hearing things from their kids. Their kids are saying that, you know, there was yelling inside, there was running, but they really don't know what exactly happened. So again, just to clarify, the officers have told us that there have been no injuries, but as you can imagine, the emotions here are running high. Everyone's just really concerned about their kids. When you get a text message or a call or something that something's going on at your kid's school, you know, it can just be very, very frightening. But again, a lot of parents here are very confused, trying to figure out what actually happened inside. They're being told to go to the church, but they said that when they went to the church, there's not really anyone there. So they're hoping that the kids will start making their way here shortly so that these parents can finally, you know, see their kids and make sure that everyone is okay. But again, the officers here reassuring us that there are no injuries reported, and so that is some really good news. And we just want to obviously reiterate that because, like I said, a lot of parents showing up here crying, confused, not a lot of them wanting to talk on camera. As you can imagine, they're just very anxious at the moment, trying to figure out what's going on, but hopefully that brings a sense of relief for the parents back at home this.
You know, a text is good, but obviously seeing your child, hugging them in the flesh is the best thing. And, you know, Anieli, you have been covering the Uvalde situation. I mean, you were on the ground the day that happened back in May. Now you're on the scene here at Heights High School. I don't know, that's got to be a whirlwind situation, you know, just in coverage and, you know, as a Houstonian, a Texan.
You know, it really is, Sherman, and I feel like, you know, just the Uvalde shooting itself has really heightened every situation, and every parent obviously fearing the worst coming, sending their kids to school, hoping that they're safe and protected. And obviously in the Uvalde shooting, that didn't happen. So now anytime you hear anything like this, your heart just completely sinks. And, you know, so many emotions are running through you at the moment. And like I said, these parents are anxious, a lot of them crying, trying to figure out what exactly exactly is going on. You know, fortunately, they're able to text back and forth with their kids, but their kids not really knowing a lot of information. Like I said, one parent told me that her kid heard yelling and they were running, and, you know, in situations like this, emotions are very high. But fortunately, again, like I said, no injuries have been reported here. That's according to an officer here that's on scene that is sending parents to the church nearby. So again, we'll hopefully wait for Police Chief Troy Finner to update us. He is going to make his way out here and is going to update the media with the very latest. But again, still a very heavy police presence out here. I will say there's not really a sense of urgency, which is good. But again, families are starting to show up even more and more. Everyone looking for their loved ones and just making sure that they're okay.
You know, there's been, as we all know, there's been a lot of criticism following the Uvalde situation. It will be interesting to see if today's response by Houston area law enforcement has changed in any way since May and what happened in Uvalde. You know, maybe that's something Police Chief Troy Finner may be able to comment on as well.
Well, here's the other thing. At this point, no injuries reported, but I don't think a lot of parents out there are getting that message yet. It's hard to convey that message. I mean, that might be the hardest thing right now.
Yeah, and hopefully the police officers we've seen on scene are, you know, giving that information to the parents.
We've got some video of an officer trying to explain to parents nearby. If we can go to that, please.
The staging area for the citizens is going to be 306 East 15.
And what do we know so far?
The only thing we know is that there are no suspects have been found, no one has been injured, and HPD, Precinct 1, SO, SWAT have all conducted a search, and they're conducting a secondary search as we speak.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Secondary search is going on right now, but that constable echoing what we've been saying so far, the no reports of any injuries, also saying nobody's in custody right now.
All righty. Police Chief Troy Finner has now arrived on the scene, so we'll be waiting for him to get mic'd up and share some information with us. We're also hearing from Lena Hidalgo's public information officer that this apparently started as a fight between two students. So we may be hearing more from her office about all of that. But in the meantime...
Jeremy Rogowski with our investigative team is here. Jeremy, what have you been able to dig up so far?
We've been monitoring police dispatch traffic, and we see Troy Finner in the left side of the screen there, HPD chief. He was actively involved in telling his troops what to do, what the next step was. This is the #1 man at HPD, making calls himself. His call sign is HPD1, and we heard him, you know, telling his troops where to go and what the next step was. A couple of takeaways from that radio transmissions. At one point, they said they had a ton of assets inside. At another point, they had 2 rifle teams and shield teams on the bottom floor of the school going in. At last word, the dispatch has cleared all outside agencies. So obviously when you have a call like this, everybody, no matter the patch and the uniform that they're wearing, will rush to the scene. All outside agencies that do not have an assignment have been cleared, and they're actually being encouraged to take their patrol cars and their units away from that location, because as you can imagine, in that densely packed neighborhood, things are getting very congested there. So, but I think the takeaway here is, at least from an initial overview, there was no hesitancy whatsoever. These teams went in, they went room by room, floor by floor. At another point we heard they were clearing the gymnasium, the locker rooms adjacent to the gym. They literally were going and scouring every square foot of that building to make sure that everything was okay.
And you bring up an interesting point that Chief Finner actively involved making the calls. Obviously that appears to be in some contrast to what we've heard anyway had been coming out of Uvalde, questions about who was in charge, everyone saying someone else.
Exactly, and the other interesting thing was you had agencies talking to each other on a would appear to be a central police channel, a special operations channel, where you know, depending on what agency you belong to, you're able to, have that cross communication, which at times can be difficult because people are on different radios and so on and so forth. So there, at least at first glance, there appears to be a lot of communication, a lot of organization, and again, HPD's the top brass, Chief Finner himself, was on scene, actively
Making
talking to his troops and saying, here's what we're going to do next, and so forth and so on.
And then we saw the video earlier taken by a student of all these officers coming into a schoolroom and having all the students raise their hands.
And we've got a parent talking to Aniela Ruiz right now. Let's listen in.
This becomes real, when it's at your doorstep, So I was like, regardless of what they said, I had to get up here.
Now, I'm here with one of the moms, and what grade is your student in?
She's in the 9th.
And you said she sent you a text message. What did the text message say?
It said, Mom, we're on lockdown. She said she was scared, and that they had she sent me a picture of how they had barricaded the doors, and that the cops had came in and told them to hold their hands up with guns.
Mom, what's going through your mind at that moment?
I just want to know that my daughter's okay. I just kept on telling her, you want me to call? You want me to call and talk to you? I said, just keep on texting me, every couple of minutes, So I just want them to, regardless of what it is or if it's a hoax or not, I just want my child.
What are you going to do when you see your baby?
Hug her and take her home. So
I guess, how does it feel to be living in a moment like this when, some of these things keep happening, and even if they're threats?
Yeah, so we just need better regulations, for kids to be, on at a school with guns. And this is not the first time I've heard something about this, She tells me all the time about how kids are doing this and that, and just like, how is that possible in a city like Houston where we're supposed to have so much protection? I just want her out.
Thank you so much for talking with us so much. Thank you, Mom. And again, like you see, a lot of parents just anxiously want to hold their babies again, want to make sure that their babies are okay. Getting that text message from your child saying that there's a lockdown, that there's possibly a shooting, is just the worst text message I think a parent can get at this moment. And especially with the Uvalde shooting, everything is very fresh on everyone's mind. And again, a lot of parents just showing up here in tears, anxious, wanting to know information. But again, so far, the officers are telling us that there have been no reported injuries. But of course, we'll continue to follow this and bring you guys the latest as soon as we get any updates from the officers here on scene.
All right.
Thank you, Aniela. Your heart has to go out to those parents out there. Many of them still haven't even gotten the word that everything's okay at the school right now, apparently. We got some tweets from HISD right now. Let me read these to you. The security of our students and staff is our top priority. Today, a threat was made against Heights High School. As a precautionary measure, Heights High School, Hogg, and Hamilton Middle Schools immediately went into lockdown. So it's 3 schools that went into lockdown. Houston Police Department and HISD Police continue to investigate the threat, though no evidence was found to substantiate the threat. Students at Heights High School will be dismissed early, and school buses are en route to transport students who normally ride buses. So that's the latest from HISD.
And we are also, as you know, waiting on a statement both from Police Chief Troy Finner and from the Office of Emergency Management. There is some early word that this may have started as a fight between 2 students on campus. Yeah, Jeremy?
Guys, as we're waiting for an update from Chief Finner, one of the things that we fail to sometimes see is the long-range effects. We're actually working on a long-term story about the learning repercussions of threats just like this one today. When this happens, there is a fear factor, and oftentimes what we found is you'll see a drop in attendance the next day, high absence rates. In fact, last year alone across Texas, we found like 35 unique threats caused severe drops in attendance. We're talking 30, 40, upwards of 50% kids don't show up the next day. And that has real effects on the learning process.
Yes, this can't help at all what's happening today. And on the left side of your screen right now, Jeremy and Sherman, you can see the parents' staging area at the church nearby.
Yeah, and, we've heard, for example, we've got another parent here speaking with Aniela Ruiz. Let's listen in.
Things. Supposedly there's someone with a gun. The SWAT just came into my class and asked everyone to put their hands up. I don't know. I think they're evacuating kids.
What's going through your mind when your daughter's texting you this?
like, what's going on? Is she safe? Is she? What's going to happen? What's next? I just don't know. I just immediately thought to get over here.
I saw you when you showed up, Mom, and you were in tears.
Yes, because it's nerve-wracking because you send your daughter to kid. I dropped her off this morning, and and I told her, yes, have a good day, and I'll see you at 6:30 after band practice. And you just don't expect this to happen, and then you just don't know what to expect, and you're imagining the worst, and it's just nerve-wracking, and feel helpless, and I'm just standing around waiting for a response. It's just, it's nerve-wracking.
It's a lot going through, a lot of emotions.
Yes.
How do you feel now knowing that, there's no injuries and that everyone's safe?
I feel better. I mean, I think we all want the complete story. Like, what's happening? Why are we here? Why is this happening? What could have been done to prevent it?
I mean, I'm sure driving up here too and seeing that heavy police presence wasn't easy.
Right. And like I said, you send your kids to school and you just don't imagine that this is going to happen. I mean, you hear about it on the news, obviously, all the other instances in other schools across the nation, and you just don't imagine that this is going to happen to your kid's school.
But your daughter telling you she's okay?
She's scared. She's wondering if I'm around. She's wondering if I'm picking her up. Yes, I'm just scared. So she texted me.
So she's still inside?
Yes.
All right.
They're going to check our classes before they let us go. So I'm not sure.
So now you just wait for your baby to come out.
Right.
And how old is your daughter?
She's 17. She's a senior.
Thank you so much for talking with us. Thank you. I'm glad she's okay though.
Thank you.
And again, as you can see, a lot of parents like her just showing up here wanting some kind of information, getting those scary text messages from their kids that are still inside the classroom, that are still inside the school, and them just wanting them to come outside and just obviously hugging them and kissing them and making sure that they're okay, but just a lot of anxiety from the parents. And I want to show you, see if Steve can turn this way. You can see more and more parents just keep showing up here at the school, looking for their loved ones, looking for their kids, trying to find out information, getting conflicting information, and just wanting to know if everyone is okay. Obviously wanting to get their kids hopefully soon. But again, like this parent just told us, it looks like they're still clearing some of these classrooms, making sure that everything is safe, and then hopefully they'll let more kids out soon. But we did see some kids already that were evacuated earlier, headed to the church that's just down the street, and that's where parents can actually pick up their kids. So of course we'll continue to follow this, guys, and we'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, we were listening to these parents Aniele has been interviewing, and you can hear the stress and the emotion and the fear in their voices. There's a mom hugging her boy there. She is feeling tremendous relief there. And, tensions get high, nerves taut. Some of the police officers calming down parents as well out there. I think we've got a bit of that tape.
They're reacting the way any one of us would have reacted had it been one of our children out there. But, of course, the good news is no injuries out there. They will be students at Heights High School will be dismissed early, and school buses are en route to transport students who normally ride the buses.
And do we have that tape of the officers? Let's take a listen to that, dealing with some of the parents there.
Have some faith in what we're doing. Because I will promise you, we trained here in Houston for this. I am one of the instructors. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. But I care about what I do because you all are why I do it. And every other officer is the same way. Okay? So I need y'all to just give us some time and be patient with us. Please.
The officer there trying to reassure parents who certainly are nervous that they are working to keep the situation under control there, to find out and get what answers they can. And we continue to speak to more parents out there. Aniele.
Is that on the school shooting also?
And so you said you got the text message from your daughter and you rushed over here?
Yes.
What was going through your mind at the moment?
Well, we are worried about that. Nothing going to be happen to any kids, our kids also, but any other kids, So we are worried about that. And we don't know still what's going on, so how these things happen. So,
did your daughter tell you that she's okay?
yeah, she's all right. my daughter and my son, they are in this school, so.
So they're both okay?
Yeah, they are both okay.
Perfect. And so now you just wait.
Yeah, we are waiting for safely they're going to be out from the school, so.
Are both of your kids still inside?
Yes. Yeah. My brother is a daughter and son also in.
Oh, so the whole family is here too.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you so much for talking to us. Again, fortunately, no injuries have been reported, so that's good news. And I am sorry, sir, I didn't get your first and last name.
Privesh Shura.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And again, like I said, these are just some of the parents that are showing up here, getting those text messages from their loved ones, trying to figure out if their loved ones are okay. But it seems like a lot of the students are still inside the classroom, still under lockdown, waiting to be released. And I guess that's why you see so many parents still out here wanting to be reunited with their kids, trying to get more information out here. But a lot of parents, like you said, like you saw earlier, just very emotional and tears, just with so much anxiety trying to figure out what's going on. But of course, Sherman and Ron will send it back to you guys, and of course we'll bring you guys anything new that we have out here.
Okay, thank you so much, Aniele.
I think, guys, that interview Aniele did with that father right there really is emblematic of the challenge in these sorts of situations. And it's a daunting challenge for law enforcement and for educators, the administration of school districts. Namely, you want to communicate with the public. We have an incident or a potential incident, but at the same time, you don't want to cause undue panic. And so it's really putting them in a tough situation. Here we are about an hour and 40 minutes after this initial call dropped of a potential active shooter. That's how it went down, with possible injuries. That was the initial call slip that went out to HPD. Here we are an hour and 40 minutes later, and there's still no official word beyond some of the tweets confirming there was no injuries, but we still don't know how this thing all started. We don't know if it was a hoax. We're hearing that it might have been precipitated by a fight, that perhaps there was some miscommunication in how it ultimately was called in. But the takeaway, the bottom line here is that parents want information, and they also have to understand that law enforcement has a job to do. They have to go in, they have to definitively rule out anything, secure number one, then investigate, and put that all together while you have dozens or scores of parents still on the curbside a couple blocks away, just wanting some sort of solid info.
Well, there's a lot of takeaways, okay? Here's another takeaway for education in America. You don't want to underreact. You're afraid to underreact, and you're afraid to overreact. So what do you do?
It puts them in a tough situation.
It puts everybody in a tough situation. Parents, teachers, law enforcement, everybody.
And you were pointing out, in addition to everything that happens today, there's a long-term impact about education, because, people are afraid to go back to school. After Uvalde, there were like 100 students that went back to virtual learning, and it's established that virtual learning does not do as well as in-person learning. So, people are making choices where safety apparently is the driving consideration, and as you know, that impacts long-term learning.
And no doubt, there's the Uvalde factor.
Right.
And we, as Texans and as a nation, we're shaken to the core about the horrible tragedy at Robb Elementary. But, as I mentioned earlier, districts will see a drop in attendance when threats of any nature, whether they're targeted at a specific campus or nationwide threats. There was a threat last December on TikTok that had nothing to do with Houston, Texas or any specific campus, yet Texas schools still had a drop in attendance.
Well, the good news here, no injuries at Heights High School, but the investigation continues. No injuries, and that's the good news. We're gonna leave you for a few minutes. As soon as the police chief has his news conference, we'll break into that. And of course, we're gonna have the latest coming up for you at 4 o'clock.
So keep the $3 grand. Jonathan Mangum has this tiny box. Keep the money or take the box.
That's a lot of money. Oh my gosh.
We're gonna take the money.
You're taking the cash.
Money.
Yeah. What's in the box? Let's see. Ready, sir?
It was finger puppets.
You would have gotten zonked. Congratulations. You got your zonk. Give him a big round of applause. Thank you both.
for law enforcement there.
Yeah, I think he's maybe shaking the hands of a couple of parents, trying to reassure folks as we get ready for a press statement. Constable Al Rosen on scene as well. There were 3 local schools there that were put into lockdown as a precautionary measure: Houston Heights, Hogg, and Hamilton Middle School. Let's listen in.
We good. Hey, look, let me say this. Listen to me, everybody. This is Houston. One family, okay? One family. The most important thing, we tweeted it out. We tried to communicate that in the scene. We have no injuries here. Thank God for that, okay? Thank God for that. All right? So we're all on the same page. Let us get through this interview, and we're going to get everybody to their kids, okay?
Chief, we're now live, and we can help all of you.
Hold up. Yeah, listen up. All right. So everybody's ready. So approximately 1 p.m., 1:11 p.m. to be exactly, we got a shots fired shooting in progress call at Heights. The call originally came down to precinct dispatcher, got around to all the agencies.
All right, we're obviously having a little bit of a technical issue there with Police Chief Troy Finner's statement there. He's addressing the media. Is that audio cleaned up? Can we rejoin that?
Okay.
All right.
Well, if you missed the very top of what he was going to say.
Considering what happened, an active shooter, we breached the door. We went in and we immediately started searching because we want to know our kids are safe and okay? So.
All right, we continue to have some issues with that, but the chief.
Okay, because I need parents to cooperate with us.
Trying to get parents to that student pickup location that's on your screens.
The parent pickup is on 14th Street. It's right here, right? The buses are going to come on 13th Street, okay? So we need everybody to work with us on that. But look, I am extremely proud of our first responders' response here today, which include our fire. We had units from Precinct 1, HFD, Harris County Sheriff's Office, FBI, U.S. Marshals, DPS, and also our DA's office. And if I forgot somebody, we'll get it at the end. But I'm going to step out the way and let Constable Rosen say a few words because it originally came down through dispatch through his agency. I was just blocks away, and I was here within minutes. So we're just proud of our team response. Go ahead, Alan.
Chief, thank you very much. We received the call at 13:00. And it was dispatched at 13:03, and our first unit arrived at 13:10. As you can see by the law enforcement presence, law enforcement descended on this school and took the appropriate action to ensure these kids were safe. Thankfully, every parent here should be thankful this was not an active shooter. And be thankful for all the things that your kids are going to be fine, they're okay, and that law enforcement was here to do its job. So parents, we appreciate how concerned you are. We're parents, so we feel your pain, we feel your angst, we feel your everything that you feel, we feel with you. And most of the officers out here have children too. So thankfully, we have good news to report. There was no active shooter here. There was a fight. So we're thankful for that. I'll turn it over to the
HFD Chief opinion. Thanks.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Let me just say that, first of all, I thank God that there were no injuries here. No, there was no student injured at this call. But calls like these are not inconsequential. And I know the police department is going to do their job to get down to the bottom of where it originated, because the effects it has on resources is one thing, but the effect it has on the public and on the parents is critical. That is just something that should not be done. The heartstrings that people are tugging at when they do this kind of stuff is just it's not acceptable. The fire department received the call at 13:08. That's 1:08. We had our first unit on scene within 2 minutes at 1:10. In total, we had 25 units that responded to the scene, and we had a rescue task force assembled and attached with police department within 8 minutes of the call that we received. That is a tremendous coordination effort between the fire department and the police department and law enforcement that are here on scene. I think that's what the community expects. The community expects the first responders to get on scene quickly, to get on scene and coordinate and start taking action as soon as they get on scene, and that's exactly what we did. As Chief Finner mentioned and Constable Rosen mentioned, there were no injuries except for one police officer that was treated for heat exhaustion. One of our medic units assisted the officer and they were released on scene, but other than that, we've had no reports of injuries. When we start evacuating or letting people out, we want to do it, please, in an organized manner to avoid any injuries resulting from us vacating the premise. So with that, I'm going to turn it over now to the Assistant Superintendent.
Deputy Superintendent Rick Cruz.
Yes, thank you.
Sir.
I want to start off by thanking our deputies who are here with us today. I want to again stress there are no building, so it is good news. A few additional points I'd like to share, and I'll be repeating them in Spanish as well. Again, we're great that today was a false alarm at the high school that all of the students are safe. I want to again thank our law enforcement entities because keeping our students safe continues.
We continue to have some intermittent issues with the transmission of our signal there, so we'll work to get that up for you. But you had been listening to Deputy Superintendent for HISD Rick Cruz.
Alarms such as
and
these.
We have him
so
yet
anyone
again.
who makes false accusations around the schools or around any kind of safety situation will be persecuted to the extent possible under the law. We as a district will continue to take the safety of our students seriously, and will continue to work with our community partners to make sure this is done. Primero les quiero agradecer por estar aquí. Quiero agradecer la respuesta que tuvimos aquí a partir de todas las agencias de policía que están con nosotros hoy en día. Quiero expresar que ningún estudiante se lastimó, que todos están bien. Hoy fue una alarma falsa, o sea, alguien llamó una acusación que no era verdadera, pero la respuesta de parte de los policías fue inmediata. Vinieron, llegaron a la escuela, verificaron que todo está bien, todos los estudiantes están bien, van a salir temprano hoy de la escuela. Quiero estresar que nosotros como distrito vamos a trabajar con las agencias policiales para asegurarnos de que ningún tipo de acusación así se lleve a cabo sin consecuencias. Quiere decir que si alguien llama y dice que hay algún tipo de evento como el de hoy y no es verdad, lo vamos a perseguir bajo la ley. Otra vez les quiero agradecer por estar aquí.
The Deputy Superintendent there giving remarks in English and Spanish, reiterating that there were no injuries and also emphasizing that they would attempt to prosecute this to the fullest extent of the law. And a important reminder, FBI telling everybody that this is, of course, against the law. And if you issue a threat over social media, text message, email, it is a federal crime, punishable by up to 5 years in federal prison, in addition to state or local charges.
Yeah, and so the big takeaway from this news conference from local officials, no injuries. There was no active shooter. It was a fight, but they are happy with the way that law enforcement responded, and they're urging parents to be very thankful, too, on what happened at Heights High School this afternoon. We're going to have a full wrap-up of this coming up on the 411. We urge you to tune in then.
Perfect side hustle. There's so much I can sell. Bags, clothes, and even electronics. It's so easy. I can list in 60 seconds.